My name's Daniela Clynes, and I'm here talking about my new album, Heart Dancers, which is due to come out in 2014. Well, I came back to the UK after living in New York for a few years, and I was wanting to start a new band as I'd moved back here. And I got a surprise text invite to a gig by John Crawford, the pianist, and his band. I say to my mother, don't disturb me now. And I went along and discovered that he was playing exactly the kind of songs that I was passionate about and that I was thinking of doing, or that I was starting to sing myself. So I actually spoke to John and said we should get together and have a play, and that's what we did. We started to have regular rehearsals, and out of that, this body of songs and different material, that some of which I had written myself, and some Eastern European songs that I had translated into English, and that we'd changed the grooves or changed the harmony, some Latin songs, and we decided that we wanted to record an album of this material. We got 3 different rhythm sections and various soloists, and went into the studio in the countryside in the middle of Sussex, and on 3 different sessions we laid down the main body of the songs. The first session we got together was with the jazz musicians who I'd actually worked with just before the recording, doing a gig, and we'd all worked so well together that it felt very natural to ask those guys to come into the studio and lay down the first, what turned out to be 7 songs, half the album pretty much, and that was with John Crawford obviously on piano, Tom Mason on bass, Clark Tracy on drums, who had played on my previous album, and the magnificent saxophonist Ian Ballamy came along and also added some saxophone at the end of the day.
Now it's almost time for me to leave again.
The opening song on the album is my own composition called Hush Hush, and it's actually the first time I've written an entire song, lyrics, music, harmony, and I wrote that one night when I was living in Manhattan, and I was up all through the night, sitting in a diner at the end of my road.
From the start, close your eyes.
A great song by British songwriter and composer and saxophonist Duncan Lamont called Manhattan in the Rain, which I recently went to New York and recorded a video for that song.
In the rain. You were so apologetic, I was so embarrassed. Then you helped me to my feet, and then we both said it was our fault, and we laughed and introduced ourselves and shared that yellow taxi in the rain.
The second session for the album was completely different atmosphere from the first, which had been recorded in the middle of winter. The second session was midsummer, and we got basically John's Latin band to come along with a slight adjustment in the lineup. And we had so much laughter and joy in the studio that day, and we got down some of the Ivan Lins material and a couple of other tunes that we had arranged with Latin grooves. One which was a version of Paul McCartney's Blackbird with a kind of salsa, slightly salsa feel underneath it, and also one of the Eastern European songs which had a more Latin vibe to it. One of the greatest joys of making this album for me was the fact that I got to work with some of my old dear musical friends. So the final session was that case in point, that it was a chance to ask two dear old friends who are fantastic musicians, but who I've not actually worked with in my band. One of whom is the great drummer Frank Tonto, who was Ghanaian by birth, but has lived in London for years and years and years. And the other is the great bass player, Linley Marta, who's from Mauritius, but living in Paris. And these two guys had not worked with each other before, but I had a feeling that they would really get on musically fantastically well, and sure enough, they did.
She won't love you like I love you.
We recorded a beautiful ballad version of Sting's song, When We Dance, which really is a completely different feel from anything else, I would say, on the album, but a really nice feel to it.
Angels will run and hide their wings when we dance. Angels will run and hide their wings.
For the final session, when we were recording the big piece by Avishai Cohen, which was called Etude, and I had written lyrics to it and got Avishai's permission to record it. And it's a very, very tricky piece, and I felt that I wanted to give it a slightly different tinge from Avishai's, having thought that it was going to take us all day to record that piece, and we had assumed that we would probably have to do it bit by bit, edit the whole thing together. Amazingly enough, those three guys, who are such supreme musicians, managed to lay the whole track down in one take, first take, and that's the take on the album. And we did the whole thing in one go, and then we sort of said, oh, we're done, let's go for lunch.
We'll have no more war, have an open door, and we'll show respect, we'll love and protect.
But that piece, Etude, then made me feel that I wanted to get some brass players to come and play on the album. So I called Noel Langley on trumpet, and he suggested getting the magnificent flautist Gareth Lecraine. And Noel wrote some brass arrangements for them, and so we went into Simon Hale's studio and recorded those brass parts. The one really unifying factor throughout the whole album has been the wonderful playing of John Crawford and the interplay between him and myself. And I think, and I hope, that that unifies the feeling throughout the album. I'm really passionate about the songs on this album, and the whole experience of working with all these fantastic musicians who are on the album has been an absolute joy. And that is why I decided to call the album Heart Dances, because it really felt like it was a work from the heart, and it really has a lot of music that I hope will stir people off their seats. And I really look forward to bringing out the album and taking the songs on the road.